Welcome to the second leg of the main site of Retrofit Reimagined in London at the Building Centre here today, and the second year that we're doing the festival. I'm Imi, I'm one of the co-founders of Civic Square.
I'm Sara. I don't know what I said this last year. I don't know what hat I'm wearing today. But I'm co-director of the National Retrofit Hub. I work with Built Environment Smarter Transformation in Scotland. I co-founded Home Energy Action Lab with those characters over there. Wave, heel, hi. And just massive supporters of all the work that Civic Square are doing. But I just want to pick up on what you said. It's been a morning getting here. It's been a bit more than a morning getting here, but yeah. Thank you all. You're so welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. So the next 15, 20 minutes, we're going to sort of ground you into this space and what we're here for. First thing I'm going to say is drop your shoulders. Drop your shoulders, okay? Because we are not having a corporate conference today, okay? We have done a very mutually supportive occupation of the building centre, including the mutually. John had allowed this to happen. Yeah, and we're going to take you through a little bit of what brought us here, why are we even doing this, what are some of the principles as a community of people coming today that we might want to follow, but most critically, it is not going to be this story, even though certain dynamics, how chairs have to be set up, how a room is, who needs to kind of shuffle everyone on and give some introductions, does replicate lots of stories of hierarchies and being talked at. But we have also tried our absolute best in many different ways to make this whole season of a festival as dynamic, as plural, as multidisciplinary, hands-on, theory, talks, listening, your ability to co-create and add things to the agenda.
Eating
And coffee. You know, we're trying our best within all sorts of different parameters. And actually, it was really important for us to be here today at the Building Centre because we thought it was really important to bring the energy and the work that we're doing into a different setting and see who and what everybody is doing and how we can come together. So to give you a bit of an idea of like what's going on,
just going to go over here.
We're going to work through a few things. We might do this double act quite a lot today, right? So hopefully either we'll get a TV show that was so good, or you'll be like, thank God it's over. But do just like kind of like humorous, because this is quite nerve-wracking. You know, for me, I find it actually quite hard to be out of our natural settings, organising in different spaces where it's not necessarily the place I might feel as home as possible. So we're going to really try and come together, and we'll talk a little bit about this later, about how we might host today and this story together and this space. So here we go. Retrofit Reimagined 2023 is in partnership with a lot of people. And we could put loads and loads more logos on because the amount of love, energy, care, support, imagination, ideas that have come from the growing ecosystem and ecology of people has been really profound. And thank you to lots of you who just turned up today and was like, is there anything I can do? Because that's absolutely like our vibe, but particularly across ACAN, Anthropocene Architecture School, Built Environment Smarter Transformation, BEST, us guys at Civic Square, Dark Matter Labs, HEAL, Northwest Media Centre, Retrofit Balsall Heath, We Can Make, Zero Carbon House. We've been coming together for lots and lots of different reasons, and lots of different drivers to really look at the incredible power of Retrofit as a site of deep reimagination. And we're going across the country, right? So we're based in Ladywood. Some of you might have joined us in that tent in the field last year. I'll show you a bit more about that in a second. But we're doing lots in our home neighbourhood, from supper clubs to design governance for street-based entities with Dark Matter Labs, to practical workshops, trade schools around learning retrofit skills, all the way to some quite deep and transformative work around land, community assets, and the intersection between what it means for neighbourhoods and the people who live in them to be at the forefront of the climate, social, and ecological transition. What does it look like if the neighbourhoods we live in and the communities who are there were able to co-design, co-build, co-govern, co-lead the transformations and transitions we need is really at the heart of what we're doing. So that's why we're kind of like this this anchor partner in this, not more or less important, but trying to drive a lot of the bringing together of very adjacent and connected ecologies that might not see that immediately that those radical solidarities exist between us. And I'll tell you a tiny bit about our journey of how we got there, and so will Sarah shortly. We've been in Moseley Road Baths, inside a swimming pool, in the heart of Balsall Heath, where Balsall Heath Retrofit have been working with neighbours in their community to retrofit in response to a number of different things, but one of them you will know is this big thing that we keep getting told, that there's a really low uptake. Like, there's a low uptake of retrofit, and it's like, I'm not sure if you work in a neighbourhood there's that much of a low passion for warmer, safer, cheaper to run homes that are easier to live in, better for your health, better.
It's how we're offering it, right?
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
what we want to talk about.
So you're going to hear lots about this, and we're going to show you a little trailer for what happened in Moseley Road Baths. And today is going to be a journey of that story. So as we go along, all the thoughts, ideas, work that happens here is going to build into a film, into a story, into many different connections and collaborations. And we'll be going to Knoll West Media Centre in Bristol with We Can Make next Friday, the 6th of October. Melissa's there from We Can Make, and Athlin might be Athlin's here. Athlin's at the back. And they're out in the Crescent as well with the front garden retrofit kits and doing lots of amazing work. We'll then be going to Machynlleth in Wales, to the Centre for Alternative Technology, for a weekend where we take over the town and have lots and lots of things, from things that look like this all the way to loads of practical hands-on bits.
Bring your kids. I'm bringing one of mine. So, it's a family affair.
Yeah. Come talk to us about the ops of that if you'd like. There will be a lot of children there as well. And do you want to say where we're going last?
Yeah, and then really fantastically, we've got the finale. That's how I've been selling it to Glasgow. We've got the finale in Glasgow in a building called CIVIC House, which is a really poetic place to finish. And it's a community enterprise, and it's a deep retrofit, and it's a really beautiful spot. So we're going to be doing that in collaboration with Best and Anthropocene Architecture School, and the huge richness of wealth of community organisations and the public in Glasgow. So that's going to be great. And I think we're going to have a Kaylee. At the end. Big party. Okay, so come for that. Bring your dancing shoes.
Amazing. So, and the real reason to work like this across ecologies, across the spaces that you might be like, why are they there? Like retrofit? Like, no, that's like us over here, and that's not for them over there. What we're trying to do is really blur those boundaries between people who should be working together, who should be thinking together, who should be reimagining.
With clickers that should be working.
Yes.
There we go.
Okay. So I'm going to tell you really quickly how we got here at Civic Square, because some of you will know us as TEDx Brum first, and then Impact Hub. Some of you might be like, oh, they're a group of artists, they're activists, they work in neighbourhoods. Why are they at the middle of this orchestration of retrofit, and what on earth gives them the credibility to talk about reimagination? Well, it really started with and maybe we don't have the credibility, but here we go, taking up space anyway. But it really started with this piece of work from Dark Matter Labs back in 2020, 2021, and this moment where that Green Homes grant, loads of money had gone back to government because there was low uptake, nowhere to spend it. And these folks had started to talk about that and why we were thinking about retrofitting to simplistic, house by house, the market will save us all these different things, right? And this just real intuitive feeling. I want to start with that. Where I was like, this doesn't make any flipping sense. What do you mean that there's no uptake? And let's get to the heart of what's happening with retrofit. And then really seeing this piece of work and this systems map, which you don't need to look at all the detail of, but if you do want to talk to folks about this today, there is people here from Dark Matter Labs. And of course, so many of you in the room will bring so much more knowledge to this. So this isn't a piece of truth. It's just a piece of infrastructure to start talking about the complexities and the interdependencies and the entanglements. And particularly, we started to realise, okay, there's many reasons to that low uptake. Some of them are super intuitive, and the closer you are to the problem, the closer you are to the experience, you're like, yeah, I don't understand it. What's in it for me? What the heck is retrofit? How is a piece of insulation or a solar panel going to solve the challenge I've got right now? Or I don't even know. So there are those things, but you start to see there's many different entanglements from across finance, from across governance, from across all of these different layers. And that intuitive piece of like, surely if all the incredible community and neighbourhood organising on the ground and all the things I get to be part of, which is this groundswell of incredible people doing amazing work, if they were activated in this story and they saw retrofit as a key part and site of imagination and possibility, surely we'd be in a different place, right? Because we know from history so many times when we need to make large transitions, democratising as much agency and knowledge to people where they are, such as the neighbourhood GPs to the NHS, or the community libraries to the education system, is the beginning of how a society starts to take ownership for the scale of transformation that is required. So this was like an intuitive thing. I had no right, other than we worked with Dartmouth Labs a fair bit. But we were like, what does this mean? And, you know, through the years, they started to talk about other things. And you might have heard Araceli Camargo's talk last year from Retrofit Reimagined. One, I'd really recommend it. This reframing of this bit of underperforming housing to this, the home, the places where we live as the start of healing and all things from across health to education. And here's an example where Dartmouth Labs have shown some of the impacts of what happens when that's not true. So I started to really see, like, okay, there's so many people working across mutual aid, across the technical parts of retrofit, the artists, the activists, the imagination peeps, the peeps working on air quality, the people working on bills, the people working in food banks, the people campaigning for cleaner air. Hold on, there's a whole different story here. And yeah, maybe all of them don't quite yet resonate with 10 grand per home to do 2 or 3 things. But this is a much bigger story than we were currently understanding. So we got right in there, to the point where it became a bit like we became a bit obsessed by the possibility of it. And so I'm not going to talk about it loads today, but this blog was a real key moment as well, because it started to make me realize about the scale of how we were thinking of finance, our inability to prevent so many of those future liabilities, our inability to think about this in a much more imaginative way. And one of the ways we started was to work with DM on that, but also we got organising on our streets to look at what could be different. So in this is what brought us here, and what we took a bit of responsibility and ownership for was starting to galvanise the story of all these other people that we knew needed to be part of this story of retrofit as a deep site of imagination, transformation, a new social settlement for this country. And there's a few things we'll talk about, but Sarah's going to share a little bit about what sort of got her here as well. And so this is really part of that drop your shoulders moment, okay? It's really about just connecting with us as humans and not some like transactional entity that you're here to consume a festival with.
I still have this like problem where I don't remember when I don't remember when the connection became a thing. It just sort of feels like it always was there, but I'll try. No, can't remember. But I'm being a bit facetious because it just feels like every part of all of the work and everything that we do at the moment is part of this transformative work. So I am an architect by background. I joined the Architects Climate Action Network when I saw Lauren Shevels in this position at at Architects Declare, when she stood up and said, I feel like an imposter in the space, but something isn't right. And what can we do as individuals within architecture to actually really grapple with the scale of the problem and the responsibility of the built environment? So that sort of marked the beginning of like my personal journey to say, what can I do? What can I do? So what can I do? What can I do? Very little, but I could do more like this. And that's what ACAN was and has been for me, that sort of formative ideas of, oh, we have a bigger strength together. And we do have a possibility when you come together and recognise that we've got more in common, and actually collectively we have a bigger impact. And we can also share the burden, and I think that's a lot of that. Like ACAN really carried me through what was a very kind of difficult journey. So moving forward, I'm really struggling at the intro. How did we come together? Like, I think it was John Christopher's.
Yeah.
It was John Christopher's, and John's not here. John... God damn it. John was here yesterday. Zero Carbon House, Retrofit Balsall Heath. John actually showed up in Glasgow when we were there doing the COP26 in Glasgow. And John just showed up as this pair of hands in the space saying, do you need chairs moving or what? Little did we know that John actually has this like great brain of things and had built the first zero carbon house in the UK and was doing tours and embedding those principles in his community and setting up these ideas of what if, never mind, what you don't have, this is what we could do collectively. So through John, these relationships were born. John introduced us, and from there, I didn't really need to know very much more about what was happening. Imi was like, do you want to, yeah, 100%, I'll do whatever it takes. And so we sort of wove all the different strands together of the people we knew, the people who sort of get this concept of let's work together and let's see what we can bring as a collective, because on our own we're not going to do it. So it's also bringing together the collective of collectives and like really unleashing this power. And for me, I feel really happy and comfortable today. I felt quite anxious yesterday in a different sort of environment, but I feel really comfortable here because I've seen where this has come in a really short space of time. This is like the future of the potential for us to really come together, to be having these questions, to sit with discomfort. You're going to get that today. There's going to be a lot of like moments where you will possibly feel uncomfortable, but like that's where the like magic can come from. That like questioning what we're doing. So I just like would say elevate your gaze away from the immediacy of what you're grappling with on a day-to-day basis in this space, and whether you're involved in the built environment or not, and like let's just like focus on what is it we're actually trying to achieve through all of our work, and don't undervalue the imagination. So I think we've done that in society. We've undervalued the imagination, and we've actually quashed it because actually it's a really powerful thing. So if we can minimize the impact of your imagination, then we can control you. So let's not let that happen. And actually all of this comes from just reimagining. Why not? If we're fully creative beings, why not just unleash your creativity and your imagination? And the way I'll stop and pass back to you, Amy, but there was a bit of debate, and there has been a bit of debate in all sorts of kind of conversations around, oh yeah, but retrofit, what does that word mean? It's like so backward looking, and it's so, I don't care what you call it. I don't care. Call it what you like. It's what it means to people. And that's what we have the opportunity to do here. We have the opportunity that when you say retrofit or retrofit reimagined to people, then they can think about the beauty of days like today and the impact that's happened. Like things have happened. I can see people in this room that we've done big pieces of work with in the last 12 months. That just was born out of trust and connection and building those things. So elevate your gaze, trust your imagination, and that's where we will sort of see the magic and the acceleration of this good work happening.
Thank you. And we'll talk a little bit about a few principles of how to do that. And like I said, we're not here for a truth. We're here to organise. We're here to, if you get to the end of the day and you're like, what a load of tosh. Cool, man. Be hard on ideas, be soft on people, have some great coffee, have a few conversations, be glad that you were like, well, I know way better than them, and wander off and go. Like, it's not, we don't have to destroy each other to disagree. And we'll talk a little bit about the principles of that in a second as well.
And I think also, like, if there's something rising, like, in you, trust your gut, right? So if there's a something and you think, hang on, they're all idiots, like, or whatever's happening in the moment, or if you actually have, like, a real moment of clarity where you can say, oh, but isn't it just, say it, like, and also if you see people around you who need maybe a bit of space to gather their confidence to say a thing, leave space for people to also do that, or encourage it, or tease it out on a one-to-one basis, and maybe offer to use your voice if you're mouthy like me, or if you're like more quiet. So like use each other in a good way.
Yeah, absolutely.
In a good way. So, be kind, be nice. I'm watching this.
So I'm going to speed up because we're running behind a little bit, but we've got a little bit of give, not much. So what we did was turn some of these things into some shifts. Because our big what-if question at the heart of Civic Square is what if the climate, social, ecological, economic, all the things you want to say, transition that we need to lead, to steward, to go through was led, designed, governed, financed, stayed with neighbourhoods and the communities that live in them, and we started to put some of these things into some shifts, and we started to get quite pragmatic and intentional about the imagination and seeing what we could do where with lots of different people in loads of different ways. Today is going to be a little sneak in. The 6 sites are more of that, and there's everything from policy to banging furniture kits together. So we don't need to derail one part of the work. If you're like, policy's useless, maybe share those things in a safe and lovely way about what you think's wrong with it, but like, don't go and destroy that bit. Go move to where your spirit takes you, because we really believe at Civic Square, and in the framing you would have seen this, there's a role for everyone in this story, and yet some of us have got lots to unlearn, some of us have got lots to bring up and out, but this isn't a space of like destruction and extractivism. It's a space of generative connections and thinking about retrofit as the heart of a wider social transformation. So last year, many of you walked across the reservoir through the field, and we held this festival in a field in Ladywood. And it really changed the dynamic. Lots of people from London and institutions also came, and by the time they'd finally trekked to this little tent, well, quite a big tent, they were like already in a place where they'd left behind everything. Whereas when you come into somewhere like this, there's a lot of history as power, a lot of what is right, which is the right way to think about something. And that also might bring up things in you. I know in the organising, there's been loads of moments where we've been like, trust ourselves, don't just move into like, this is how you do a conference in a conference centre, but this is how you do it in a swimming pool, which we did last week, or in a field. So this was us last year in the field. There's some beautiful write-ups from Bobby Jewell about it, and we'd love to hear if you came last year and what sort of made you come back again. But also the first session, the first site of Retrofit Reimagined happened in Balsall Heath, which is this, Moseley Road Baths, in an old, incredibly important historical building at the heart of an inner city, extremely diverse, intersectional neighbourhood, full of magic.
But empty of water, just in case you thought they were all swimming.
And the festival happened in the swimming pool just before they're about to close, before quite a historic retrofit and reimagination of the site as a deep community asset. And at the heart of the provocations this year is really taking this a bit further, because lots of the provocations last year really looked at this intersection of the reimagination we need to have with materials, with the land under our feet, with the soil under our feet, and the contract of land between us and that soil, each other. And so a lot of this festival is really framed around the intersections of these movements, the intersections of what we need to do, how we can come together, where we might identify ourselves, and you'll be hearing and being hosted by, and hopefully you will contribute to the hosting of lots of spaces around this today, which if you don't already have, take one of these from me or from one of the team. It will help you navigate the day. Everything is being streamed, everything is being recorded. This isn't the most transformative room to be in. So if you need to take a step out, go to the Crescent, wander around the gallery, you can watch the content back, have a conversation with someone. It's okay. So here we were last week in the heart of Balsall Heath with an incredible community who have been organising with Zero Carbon House, with Retrofit Balsall Heath, who have gone through the LADS programme. We learnt lots and lots and lots about what worked, what completely didn't, and everyday people from many different... In fact, sorry, let me reverse. What the heck even is everyday people? That is such a ridiculous statement, isn't it? People and neighbours from all across Balsall Heath were talking about the experiences, good and horrendous, about going through that process and really imagining through practice about how they might want to do that differently. And we've got a little video to show you at the end because you're going to be part of that video today. And this was the community dinner that happened in the evening. So
that's in John Christopher's back garden, the John that we mentioned earlier on. And this is as generous as he is with his garden frequently through the year.
Yeah. And for us, this is what we mean by how we're organising. We're organising in woodlands, in front gardens, in street parties, in school playgrounds, in all sorts of different ways and places. And this is probably the most formal place we've ever done anything in this space. So for us, it's really about grounding it in the ecologies, the neighbourhoods, and with the people for whom we want to work alongside in the transition we want to go through together. So thanks to Healing Justice London, you'll hear some more from Fazana in the first panel. I've just always been astounded by their ability to hold space. And so I was at an event a few weeks ago, because I try and say some of this stuff and then it doesn't quite come out right. And so I thought about what is it that we thought was important, and Fazana so generously shared their beautiful document that really looks at how you hold space. And so we were thinking about like what matters here today. Because we have to practice these things, right? The pressure of our work, of how we're supposed to be, how conferences are meant to feel, like it's quite astounding. So here's some of the things that both co-inspired by Healing Justice and some conversations between some of the organisers that we think is a good start. Just like the shifts from before, just like this, should be a ... at the bottom, right? Because you keep building on this. You learn, you make mistakes, you are generous, you forgive, you unlearn together. So this is just a start. So some of the things we'd really appreciate you focusing on today is being hard on ideas and soft on people. I think that's like a good principle to start with. Know when to take up space. So this is a really interesting way to frame it when I heard Fazana first talk about this, which is, as people who may have loads of power in the dominant system, know when it's a good time to step back. As people often marginalised and unheard, know when it's time to roll your shoulders back and try and take up some space, and everything in between about how you help each other with that. And really let's see what happens when we try and start to practice today together, how we want to be in this space. You might think something someone's talking about is absolute, like, this has nothing to do with what I want to do. The rule of 2 feet means you can get up respectfully and walk into the next thing. We can be hard on ideas and soft on people, and we can look at how we take up space. Sit in discomfort. There's going to be things that make you uncomfortable today. There might be things that you disagree with, especially given that it isn't just all the technical part of the retrofit built environment world. So it might expand. There might be things we sort of know, but confronting them really in the face is really, really difficult. But explore what that means for you as a space for growth. Explore what that means for you here. Do you need to pop out to the Crescent? Do you want to chat to one of us? Do you want to have a moment to reflect with someone else? Think about what that means and try and really look at ways in which you can bring that forth in here. Co-host a space alongside us. Workshops are going to get full. We've got more sign-ups than the maximum lunch that we've got. If you can see a huge lunch queue and you're like, I can just go to the cafe and buy something. We're not going to point out all the peeps that are here with access fund or support, or for whom this is the first ever time they've been here. So if you know there's a long queue, it looks like food's going to run out, maybe I'll just go to the cafe because I can. And I don't need to be in this food queue, or I can prioritise somebody else. Whatever needs to happen. Something looks like it's about to fall or break. Someone looks a bit scared. Someone's upset. Just help host a space with us. Help the facilitators. Help the workshop leads. Help the building centre staff. Help all the organisers. Let's take collective responsibility and ownership for how everyone has the most safe, enjoyable, expansive, open, joyful, lovely day. Because that will be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah, give yourself a break. You're not at work. You're here.
Yeah.
Chill.
Fazana always says hydrate. Make sure you hydrate. A lot of these problems are often stem by just dehydrated. So just check that. And the bit about the capacity to grow, these, and this is directly from Healing Justice's document, which is these are ongoing conversations. Not everything will feel resolved or resonate at once. We commit to growing and creating spaces to do so with curiosity, creativity, and making space for non-performative learning. And finally, in that space, I just want to share that another direct quote that I think is just really powerful, which is equity is the opposite of extractivism. How can the learning travel to invest and uplift the most vulnerable and marginalised? And how do we look at what it means to democratise knowledge? And so these are just some principles, okay, to hold us together. You disagree? Come talk to me. Want to add something? Come talk to me. We're really happy to discuss. We're just trying to do everything we can to help you just shake it off and have a good day. Thank you, Healing Justice London. And on that note, most importantly, everywhere we've been going, we've been thankfully, due to the really generous and bold support of 30 Percy, been able to offer an access fund to support neighbours from many different parts of the country to travel to other parts. Maybe that's not resonating for you, maybe that's not something you need, but perhaps you're in a knitting group where someone does, perhaps you run something in your community, perhaps there are people for whom you know come into McConkleth or going up to Scotland or come into the incredible neighbourhood of Knoll West would be really powerful. If that's the case, please do pick up one of these. If you need to support the person to do an online application, maybe take that responsibility. They can also just tick and fill in the back. You can take a photo of that and send it to us. We'll get that process straight away, or very, very soon. And for all the rest of the sites, we'd love for you to bring the people doing the work in your place or in your field that you feel, God, it would have been great if I'd brought that person, but they'd never make it here. So that's one of the things that if there is more privilege and resource in this room, what do we do with that quite immediately? Not like in a couple of years, but like for the rest of the festival. So on that note, I'm just going to pass over. In fact, no, I'm not going to pass over because I've told you all about this. On that note, I'm just going to share no fires are planned. I mean, no fire drills are planned.
There's definitely no fires planned.
No planned fires. Although, listen, the Crescent occupation...
A fire in your heart. Yeah, okay, let's go there.
No
in your
fire drills are planned.
Definitely not.
And therefore, if there is a fire, alarm, slowing right down. Where's Indy? She's going to be laughing because she's probably thought, can I trust you with the health and safety briefing? It's like, absolutely not. It means it could be real, and so everyone needs to evacuate. The fire exits are on your right and your left, and you move out through those, back out to the Crescent, to the gathering point. The building centre staff have the lead on this. We as event organisers are right behind them. And as a wonderful co-hosted, co-collective space, you're also going to be making sure those who need the most support are able to get out, but also you are able to...
You've got a little bit... I'm so confused. What time is it?
You're able to exit safely. So on that note, I just want to say, if it gets too much in this room, move to the other spaces. Key blockage points, workshops might get full. Go to the marketplace, go to the Crescent. There might be a moment where you can give up a spot because you've heard from lots of those people before and offer it to someone else. We've got an illustrator. If things are coming up for you, provocations, ideas, please do share them. As I had this wonderful introduction from Melissa this morning to the team behind the project to retrofit empty housing blocks, and to train up a retrofit task force directly employed by the council and the change.org petition they have up. If you've got a project you want to share, stick it up, but also get it illustrated, stick it up. And in the later on session, in the afternoon session, I'll ask if you can share a little bit about it, if that's okay. Yeah, that's great. All right, wonderful. Thank you for sharing it. But this is an example of, like, if you hear something great, go get the illustrator to put it up, get anything you can, stick it up, put a bit.ly up, put a website up. Let's really share and co-create like what's already in the room.
One other thing just on this map, we've had actually quite a lot of active feedback about why aren't you in Sheffield, why aren't you in Hull, why aren't you in, and can we do that? We can do that, and actually we would really love, we'll try and capture it somewhere, like pins in a map, of who wants to co-create this next time round. next year, maybe next time round, so we can actually facilitate this sort of spreading across the country. I'm looking at you because we already had this chat.
Yeah.
So I think if that's something that we'll try and capture as well, and just let us know. So we'll see what can come of that.
We absolutely want more stewardship, new directions, rooted in principles that we'll talk about and hear about more today. So this is not, I mean, why aren't we everywhere? Because we're just a bunch of humans. You'll meet most of us today, and at some point you might see us being like, quite tired. So this is definitely something that everybody has to take co-stewardship and responsibility for. So on that note, we are going to stop talking. We've taken up quite a bit of space in order to set the terms of the day, to help us to have the best, most safe, joyous, wonderful experience that is rooted in the reality and the scale of the challenges and the opportunities, the imagination, the possibility, the wealth of knowledge here and all across the places that you're from. So please do join us in co-creating that. And while we transfer over to the first part of the day, I'm going to say that the morning session has very purposely been quite heavily curated with talking at you, so that we don't have to be in this room like this too often all day. If that's too much, you can take your laptop and watch a live stream upstairs. You can watch it back afterwards. You can go to the Crescent. You can go make. You can go do. But for the morning, we'd really appreciate those who are in the room to really respect the way that this part of the day has been curated, which is trying to hear from many different people and to frame some big ideas. And on that note, we're going to just say, while we change over, one thing we were interested that you could do while we're just changing over is to turn to someone you don't know, say what brought you here today, and name one thing that you feel like you're going to need to leave at the door to maybe try and participate in a way that just drops your shoulders and opens your heart and mind to what might be possible. And so if you turn and talk to your neighbour for a couple of minutes, we'll be changing over. We're a bit behind, but we'll catch up.
Thank you, everyone.